All right. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to week two Otter Talk of every single league this evening. I'm Traxon. Joining me is the bully, Billy Willard, Rindo, and our wonderful producer, Pop Tart. How is everyone doing this evening?
Oh, not so bad. Not so bad. Yourself, Jackson?
Doing well?
It got late.
It
I
did.
want I want to sleep.
We know
Yeah,
Billy's tired as always. Got to keep it usual going on. But
yeah.
yeah, so b- obviously with IBS, this is a little different. We're doing auto talks on the weekends, primarily Sunday, and that kind of helps it out. So we're not here Monday through Thursday every single evening because that would be a little crazy. But without further ado, we're going to start with IBS and work our way up to Diamond. And unfortunately, for some of you that have very recently name changed slash logo changed in the last couple days, you're gonna have what you currently had, but we're working on it. Don't worry. So let's kind of start off with IBS Piltover. But before that, big shout out to Assumption. Is that Nuck for the Prime? Appreciate it. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. So yeah, it's a Piltover. Obviously, IBS. We're going to kind of look at the standings right here. So obviously, one weekend we have Whooper Academy, GSG, IOTA, Revolution X have all picked up a win. Revolution Anarchy had a bye this week. SNC Sunset Ravens, Iconic, and Hyperion Galaxy all with a loss in week one. Taking a look at the power rankings between everyone, though, it looks like pretty consistently GSG, who has seen a lot of success throughout Blue Otter League and pretty much every division they play in, is up at the number one standing. Rindo, tell me why.
I mean, for me, it's GSG Iota because I don't watch a whole lot of IBS. I'll be honest, but if there's a team I hear about in IBS, it's always this GSG Iota team.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just the name. They're always the name to beat. So
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. And another team that's 2-0 undefeated is Whooper Academy. Billy, you have them pretty far down in the standings. So why
I
do you?
Before that, I think I can assume why.
Okay, go ahead.
I think Billy had them so far down the standings because Whooper Academy had like 50 million roster changes before the season.
That's a valid
Yes.
point. So are
Uh,
you kind of expecting them to struggle with this roster that they've been kind of shuffling?
they've been shuffling this roster in and out a lot in the early season. I want before I move them up any higher than I have them already. I want to see the consistency kind of shown from this roster, where they aren't just rotating people
Okay.
in, out every sort of week.
So, and I guess the next question is, if they do get some consistency, do you expect Whooper Academy to rise in standings in
Oh,
future power
definitely,
rankings? Okay,
definitely.
perfect. All right. Up next, we're going to talk about another team that's 1-0. 2-1, though. They did drop one game in the best of three series. It is Revolution X. Bully, you have them in second place. So, kind of walk me through your thought process of putting them that high.
I mean, looking through the roster, like they seem very, very solid. You have a team that has a very strong top side. You have the cap exception is going to be actually top lane, and even though a lot of times top lane isn't it going to be a big deal in like competitive 5v5. I think in IBS particularly, if you have
Hmm.
this strong type top side, it create makes the map so much easier to play around because you're gonna create some panic with the other team. The other team's like, oh my god, this
Hmm.
top laner's 3-0, they're on our tier 2, what are we gonna do? And they start scrambling, they start creating these openings for the rest of the team to start playing off of. Uh, but one of the bigger reasons why I put them so high is because I don't know half these IBS teams anyway, but
Hmm.
I do know Revolution teams, a lot of their IBS teams do tend to succeed in IBS leagues.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, they're pretty successful. And then something that you really touched on, the split push strategy at this elo, incredibly strong if you're able to kind of play that macro wise. Up next, we're going to talk about the team that has yet to play, my apologies, Revolution Anarchy. Every team's paid to clarify, but yet to play Revolution Anarchy. Obviously, Revolution X and Anarchy both have the same logo. So our producer has put the X to clarify the difference between the two revolutions because obviously that's going to be confusing. But yeah, so Anarchy currently, obviously fourth in the standings, haven't played yet. A little bit all over the place. Rindo has them in the middle. Billy has them in second, and Bully, you have them almost in last. So I guess we're gonna do two real quick. So Billy, I feel like you have some insight as you've seen pretty much all the rosters.
Hmm.
Why is Anarchy so high for you?
For me, I like just looking at this roster. I know that they've been together for a while. I think Rev started their tryouts early, like early June,
Mhm,
like early to late June. So they've been together for a while, that's for sure. And I don't think this roster's gone through many shakeups. The like for me that kind of sort of consistency where they've just been sticking together and have built up that synergy is going
mhm.
to, in my eyes, help push them over the edge over some of the teams where they may not have the same sort of time together and built up synergy just yet.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. And Bully, you put them pretty much in sixth place. I assume that's because we just haven't seen any action from them, or do you feel a certain way about this?
Well, it, the team itself does, you know, look solid. I know they've been playing together, but Leopard's on that team. I had to put him last. No, I'm just kidding. But I think they are going to be a solid team, but I just don't know a lot about these bottom four teams. And
Mhm,
since I haven't seen them played, I can't put them anywhere higher than these teams that I played. Like Snack Bears, I would have put them above Snack Bears, but Snack Bears actually went like 1-2 against
mhm.
Revolution X, and I put Revolution X number two.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, Snack Bears might actually be like a threat, but I do expect Revolution Anarchy to move up throughout the season. I just don't know what this like bottom four teams are gonna
Mhm.
look like.
Okay. Fair enough. Up next, we're talking about the team currently sitting in fifth place. It is the SNC Sunset Bears going 1-2 last week. Rendo, we got them placed last. Go ahead and walk me through.
Um, I don't know. So the how I did a lot of my power rankings because I'm a plat player. I don't watch a
Hmm.
whole lot of IBS. I'll be honest. I watch a little, but the biggest thing for me is when I looked through who won, who lost, and then I looked at what their comps were because I don't know very many of the players, and I just their comps were everywhere. They were like complicated comps at times, even for like a plat player, and it's just
Hmm.
like I just see it falling apart too easily. So.
Okay. So you think that maybe for future success, this team could kind of simplify their the strategies in which they try to win through? Is that what you're kind of saying right
Yeah,
now?
that was
Okay.
my idea and how a lot of my rankings went.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And there's definitely something to be said about easy to execute team fights or easy to execute compositions when you get to the Rift. That definitely makes it a lot easier that we've seen throughout, IBS 2 Platinum. So maybe something they could take into next week. But up next, it is Iconic going 0-2 last week. Billy, you put them pretty much smack dab in the middle. So tell me why.
So for me, I've played with Merritt a few times for like various tryouts.
Hmm.
He's really smart about the game, but he demands a lot from his laners in particular. Like he's
Hmm.
someone who wants to look to outplay the jungler, look to outplay the enemy team 95% of the time. So if for me, it's kind of just coin flip on whether or not they see success with this kind of sort of playstyle,
Hmm.
and whether or not this actually has the potential or to either just like flourish or just taken right down the drain to
Okay, fair enough.
this.
All right. And last but not least, it is Hyperion Galaxy O2 with a bit of a rough best of three series last week. Bully, you put them in fifth. Tell me why.
I mean, I think they did have a rough start, but that's kind of given because of who they played against. Uh, I mentioned it before that it does fall on not knowing a lot of these teams, but they had if they were able to pull off like maybe a solid like game against Iota, then I might have put them a little bit higher. But like I said, Iota is just the best team, and Hyperion needs to prove themselves against
Mm-hmm.
other teams now.
Okay.
Because I'm not really convinced that they would beat Whooper Academy or Revolution X at this point, or even like Anarchy.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I believe that kind of wraps up for Piltover Power Rankings for right now. Let's kind of break out Zon as we conclude Power Rankings for IBS here. And I believe there's also a name change here. It
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
Knights of Oblivion, and let me find the ticket where they updated it. But if one of you finds it before I do, by all means. Oh, I found it. So, a very long name. It is Subatomic Gaming Antimatter. So, we're going to have to shorten that one base.
to SG Sunken
Yeah.
Gaming.
Yeah. Oh, man. These names are so long this season. But yeah, so Knights of Thunder will be Subatomic Gaming Antimatter moving forward, or SGA is their abbreviation. We'll get that updated. That was one of the teams that very recently sent us a new logo and a new team name. But with that, we're looking at 3 teams who walked away with the W, obviously, last week. TD Syndicate, Eden's Blazing Star, TE Aeon, Knights of Thunder, or SG Antimatter has yet to play. GSG PSI, Glacial Academy, and Feed the Dream did drop their best of 3 series last week. So all across the board, we have Titty Syndicate up at the number 1 spot. So I'm going to give this to our roster expert, Billy, here.
Oh, well, shit. So TD Syndicate's kind of been a roster we've seen around for a while. Like they've kind of gone over a few changes. We've seen Super Square in various leagues for a long time. Either he's either like one of the top 3, if not higher junglers in IBS typically. Uh, as for the rest of the roster, I'm not as familiar with it. I believe they still have a top laner that's pending eligibility for games and everything. So I'm waiting to see if that still translates with the rest of the roster that's been sticking together for a while, and I don't see a reason why it wouldn't currently
Okay.
on
Yep.
the top 10.
Fair enough. Another team, Eden's Blazing Star, currently sitting in second place, tied for TE Aeon with 5 points. Rindo, you have them in second place. So walk me through why.
Well, I was a little up and down on this team when I kind of looked through them because I know a lot of people have Glacial Academy down low and they 2-1 Glacial Academy, but they also have Major coaching them. And I think Major, is a fairly high level gold player. And even at that level, he likes to stay everything simplified. Like that's kind of where I'm running down a lot of these IBS teams. I think Major's going to be able to keep them all together and calm down and rationally looking at the game. So that I think they're just going to find a way to be successful.
Okay. Fair enough. And then we're going to kind of pigtail off that. Bully, you have them fairly low. You have them in 5th place. So what's up with that?
I mean, I expected this team to do well, right? The 2-1 to Glacial, one of them was a FF win. Like the first game was a FF win. So in actual games, they went 1-1. So I would have originally had them top like 3 in my power rankings, but that one game kind of shook up the power rankings a little bit for my
Okay. Yeah.
sanity.
Fair enough. And obviously, again, clarify, don't feel bad if your team's low in the power rankings. Don't feel too crazy if you're, up in top 3 or 4 power rankings. This is week 1. A lot will change moving
Yeah.
forward. So just keep that in mind. This is what these 3 individuals kind of feel as their initial kind of shakedown of where everyone stands in terms of team. So before we open tickets or we get upset and, help desk or whatever, keep that in mind. With that, though, TE Aeon 2-1 last week, sitting in second as well. A little bit all over the place. Billy, you got TE Aeon in 6th place right now. What's up with that?
I'll be honest, I kind of saw a little bit of this GSG TEA game
Mhm.
the other night, and I wasn't impressed by either team really at all. It felt
Then
more
why do
like
you
a
have
showing.
Okay.
GSG above TE?
Okay, so I think GSG has a higher upside than TE right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Like I know that they're going over, like they have their own issues that they're working through,
Mhm.
but I have confidence in GSG to get those sorted out. And for me, just watching TEA on play, it felt more like it felt less coordinated than what I'm used to for most IBS games. So
Okay.
that's something I'm looking at to see if they still struggle with during the regular season, and if not, they get moved up.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm gonna kind of count that as you talking about GSG and TE on. So I think you can just sit back and relax for the rest of Zon here, Billy. Appreciate that. Up next, we're going to talk about the team previously known as Knights of Thunder, now in short-term antimatter. We have them kind of all over the place. Rendo, you have them ranked fairly low. So kind of tell me why you feel that this team is so low on the kind of totem pole here.
Was this the team that had a bye week 1?
Yes.
Yeah, so like I didn't have a lot to go off of.
Hmm.
So like partly it's hey, sorry guys, you haven't not proved yourself, but you also haven't proved yourself.
Hmm.
So all I had to go off was an op.gg, and
Okay.
like it just looked a little lower than some of the other players. I don't know IBS players, so maybe they're big names, maybe they weren't, but that
Okay.
was where I landed.
Okay, but I imagine you see something in this roster that perhaps Rindo doesn't see, Bully.
You're talking about Knights of,
Yes.
or yeah.
Yeah.
So
Previously Knights of Oblivion. Or
here's the
Knights of
thing.
Thunder, sorry.
Billy mentioned how GSG and TE both didn't impress.
Hmm.
I thought Feed the Dream was going to be a lot higher on my rankings until they got absolutely just decimated
Hmm.
against TD Syndicate. And when I was making my ranking, I was like, well, I guess this is the only place that I could place them as third. Their team
Hmm.
has some potential, but it doesn't look like this. I don't have as much confidence in this division as the other as Piltover. I
Okay.
think this division from is just going to be all over the place.
Okay, so when you say that, are you saying that Zon is closer in competition, or do you think Zon's is a weaker division overall?
I mean, I think it's TD Syndicate and everyone else in this
Okay.
division.
Okay, fair enough. We'll kind of see how that kind of stacks up later on in the season with potential roster changes, teams kind of getting some more synergy. It is early on, and we don't know how long some of these teams have been playing together. So we'll see how it kind of shapes up. And maybe you're right, and maybe someone else steps up. With that, though, we're going to talk about Glacial Academy up next. 1-2 in their best of 3 last week. Obviously, one of them was an FF, so technically went 1-1 in games that they played. Unfortunately, had FF game 1. Rindo, you have them pretty high up in the pack, while Billy and Bully have them in dead last.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like really easy. Like, I had like two choices, and Bully went, I think, literally the opposite direction I did. I said, I thought the Eden's team was going to look fairly decent, and Glacial Charm, like you said, won them in reality. Like, if you're willing to move away from the forfeit, and to me, that was like, well, I would have had you guys real low, but maybe you want to say you
Okay.
have something to do. So,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. And then kind of the same thought process with Feed the Dream here. Everyone kind of expected them to come in and do significantly better. Rendo has them in last place, Billy in third, Bully in fourth. So I'm assuming I'm going to give this question to Bully,
Mhm.
that both of you kind of feel that they have a higher high and they just kind of underperformed in week 1. Is that correct?
I mean, I fully expect this team to be a playoff team.
Okay.
I think they need to, if they want to actually compete for the title, they can't have, they can't do what they did in week 1. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
it's not. They didn't just lose 2-0.
Hmm.
Those games are completely unwinnable. It got to a point where it was just a slaughter, and they have the talent. They have the players that could, you know, go deep in playoffs, but
Hmm.
they just need to prove themselves, and hopefully, that for week 1 wake up will push them. towards that
Okay.
area.
Fair enough. Well, you've seen Piltover and Zon. It's now time to throw it over to the Gold League and talk about the power rankings of Demacia. And as you know, Conrad Esports Goblins, CN Crawdaddies, and Sun Kappa have picked up wins. TE Zycron on a bye. Friendzoned, Forgotten Kingdom, and CN Crabrave dropped the series in week 1. Looking at the power rankings and then the standings, everyone has Conrad Esports Goblins in first place. Which is interesting in this division, Demacia, to note, you either went 2-0 or you went 0-2. There was no in between, no game threes. Everything was 2-0 and 0-2. And you actually see that in, I believe, Noxus as well, which is interesting. But aside from that, Conrad Esports number 1, Billy. Tell me why.
So Conduit's kind of just comprised of the same core roster we've kind of always seen. Same core 3-man that we've seen around the various leagues of Vandrel, Dobbs, and Bam. I believe they're joined by Batman and Shrouds on this roster, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're correct.
And we've seen how far like Vandrel, Dobbs, and Bam have been able to take teams in the past. While the teams may change up over the years, I think it's still something worth noting, the fact that they have continuous success as a 3-man like trio. And I think that is going to help propel them over a lot of the teams in the division who are not nearly as well of known factors in at least BOL.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And okay, so we're gonna take a step back because this is where it gets a little confusing. Rindo, right? As we know, last week, CN Crabrave played CN Crawdaddy, right?
Yes. And
Unless it was an error, right? You have CN Crabrave above CN Crawdaddy in a game where they lost 0-2. Was that an error or?
I'm pretty sure I mixed up the two teams because I went
Okay.
back and forth between looking at rosters. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
one was like the Drex roster, and now
Mhm.
they're Crabs. And I think I just mixed up which team was switched on the sister
Okay.
teams.
Got it. Okay. I just want to
Makes
make
sense.
sure. Yeah. Okay. I was like, this is either really controversial and like a super hot take, or we got a little confused, which is totally understandable. Drax, now CN, 2 CN teams with different logos, and yeah, a lot of logo changes and rebranding 1 week in already of the league. Okay, so but you did put them pretty high. So I assume you still think that CN Crabrave is a very good team, seeing and pretty much slotted
Yeah,
them
for
into
sure.
4th place here. So kind of walk me through both of these CN.
So,
Good
like,
then.
when I look at this, I think, like, when I look at this whole thing, I think Goblins are the best team in this submission. And then there's like some if and ands for different things. But, like,
Mhm.
so there's teams that I expect to be able to beat other teams and teams that I can. I can see the Rave team being able to beat any of the teams here.
Okay.
I can't like, but I can also see them losing to anyone. I think they're kind of like the dark horse of Demacia. Like,
Okay.
you need to come up and show up and play against them every week. From what I was looking at them.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. All right. Up next, the team we're going to talk about we're going to skip a team and we're going to go to TE Sidecron here, right? Rindo, you have them in 2nd place. Bully, you have them in 5th. Billy, you put them in dead last. So what's up with that?
I'll be honest, I do not know enough about this team,
Okay.
and looking at this division, I I can see like honestly any of these teams jumping up to like second to make playoffs. Like
Okay.
I think like Rindo said, it's Goblins in first, but for me the rest of this division is kind of wide open. So I like have I believe they did not play this past week. I want to say
No,
I
they
want to
were on
say
a
they have,
bye. Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
that's part of the reason why they're just dead last. I don't really have
No,
much
that's
to go off
totally,
of.
yeah. No, that's totally fine.
Honestly,
Yeah.
this team on paper looks actually really strong.
Mm.
Okay.
It,
You think it playoff bound, maybe?
yeah, I think they're actually playoff bound.
Okay. Fair enough. Speaking of playoff bound, a team that's currently in playoffs, one game into the season, Sun Kappa, with a 2-0 bully, sorry. What made you rate them so high in the standing?
Ah, honestly, I pretty much might have to. I think they're going to be more below that, but it's more
Okay.
of just not knowing a lot about these teams.
So that's totally understandable. I mean, obviously we are literally 1 week in, so a lot of this is gonna be probably wrong by the end of it, to be honest with you. But moving forward, they play CN Crabrave next week, so we'll see how they. Up next, it is the return of Friend Zoned, and I wanted to specifically ask Billy.
Hmm.
You've put them in, I believe, fourth. Rindo and Bully have put them in dead last. Do you believe in the power of friendship, or what's
Uh,
going on here?
what I believe in is the experience that this team has together. Like this is an old team coming back. Like while
Hmm.
it's been a while since we've seen them, I know that Bread's a good player. I know that Acme has his moments as well. So
Hmm.
like for it all for a lot of unknowns for me, I think Friendzone can either like be towards the top of the pack or be
Okay.
towards the bottom of the pack, realistically.
So just
So
yeah, it makes sense to put them in the middle because there's a lot of wiggle room between the two. Okay, fair enough. Up next, it is a obviously friend zone. AFK and CN Crabrave have yet to pick up a win in week one, so a Forgotten Kingdom is up next, and they look to be consistently in the bottom three for everyone's power rankings here. So Rendo, kind of walk me through why AFK is so low.
I mean, my thing on those guys was I looked at their op.ggs and they were like really low rated. They had this like one random gold one player with like a 60% or so win rate, but he was like, I'm like really sure that guy's off rolling. He's their mid laner, and
Okay.
mid lane off rolling is pretty rough.
Yeah, it
So
is.
that's why I ended up putting him there. Like, hey, the biggest pop off players off rolling. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Last but not least, it is CN Crabrave, who did drop to CN Crawdaddies, which most people have in the top three. Crabrave is in fourth place for Bully's power rankings. So kind of walk me through your placing them there.
Well, I mean, they had to play, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
against the other crab team, but this team in general, it's it's kind of like a toss up. I want to see how Play on Words does on this team as a support, especially if you have a support. I don't know if they're the shot caller or not, but if you have a platinum level support, able to kind of direct the game of
Mm-hmm.
how they want to play it, and everyone is able to listen to their calling, uh, they might be able to be like the difference maker in these games where they're able to get enough vision to get all the information they need to make solid sound plays with everyone on board. It's going to be difficult when some of these players have, I guess they are like gold 4, gold 3
Mm-hmm.
average, but I know some of these players have played in other leagues. I've played against some of these players and they're pretty solid. So if they're able to mitigate any kind of skill issue they have against their opponents, they can make better plays and therefore make those small wins become big wins and eventually win these games. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to see. I think this is kind of the team that we will see build upon themselves throughout the season and like just keep getting better.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. All right. And I believe that does conclude all of Demacia power rankings. We're going to take a look now at Noxus and take a look at the Noxus standings. CBZ, TD Solar, and House of Ronin. Undefeated 2-0 in week one. Hyperion Copus is yet to play. TD Aftermath, who I believe is rebranding to TD Bank soon because it just came through. Never Forgotten Esports and Counter Esports Kraken 0-2 in week one. And finally, it looks like we have a little bit of a disagreement for the rank one spot. So this is where it gets to be fun. Billy, TD Solar 2-0, you have them as the number one spot. Why do you feel that they are better than CBZ?
realistically, I think they just have a lot more proven names.
Okay.
just that I recognize. So I know Caxie's been around for ages. Played against him in my first ever split. He's always been like one of the top to like upper half of the junglers that I've played against, and like combine that with players like Fire the Fox, Solus, FBF Odaro. I know that they're going through a change currently in their top lane because Kai'Thel ended up ranking up
Hmm.
before week one, but uh I feel like CBZ has less proven players currently and needs to show that they are the team that they are.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, Bully, you somewhat disagree because you've ranked CBZ over TD Solar. So tell me why you feel going into week two that CBZ is the best team in the Noxus division.
I mean, I would agree with Billy. It
Okay.
does. It does. So before Kaito ranked out of TD Solar, I was like, this team is gonna be the best
Hmm.
in this division. Uh, the thing, what I have about CBC is that they have that kind of that team that can be the dark horse. Not even just a dark horse, that they have sub-proven players that we see have played in BO before, like Smitty and Emperor. They've been that mid jungle duo for a long ass time, and they have a ton of synergy together. They're building upon this roster that was a playoff team in another league,
Yeah.
and I think right now they're better than TD Solar. However, I know right now TD Solar is going to be weaker for the next couple of weeks because one of their players is on vacation. But TD Solar will need to make that comeback. I know they have like one of the best mid laners in the league,
Hmm.
so this is definitely going to be a top two team or top three team in this division. This is definitely a playoff team. It's going to be
Yeah.
how the synergy comes together when their starting player comes back.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Good
Just
explanation.
real
Hmm.
quick to play devil's advocate
Okay.
for the CBZ team. I know that Emperor is coming off of he's coming back to jungle after a roll swap for
Hmm.
ADC for a little bit. Do you see that affecting his performance at all?
No, I think it makes him better
That's fair.
because
Okay.
I think it makes him better is because he was a better jungler.
Hmm.
I think putting him on an ADC when he had like m- when he was playing solid in the jungle is more because he didn't like the jungle meta where it became. So I think he swapped because he didn't like the jungle meta. Now it's kind of more his style again,
Yep, that's
and
fair.
yeah, I see him doing a lot better.
All right. Fair enough. Up next, it is House of Ronin, which, by the way, I think is one of my favorite logos in gold. Just super simple, super cool. House of Ronin, though, 2-0 this week, but everyone has them fairly low outside of Bully. Rendo, you have them in fifth place. Tell me why that you put an undefeated team there right now.
I think they played like sorry guys, the team below them. They played the team I believe I have in last place, if I remember right. And beating the one of the what looks like weaker teams in
Hmm.
the division doesn't make like yeah, you're undefeated right now.
Hmm.
You gotta go beat some of these other I think this division's really hard. Like so you gotta come beat some of these other top three teams before you're gonna get any higher rated from me at least.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's understandable. Got to prove themselves. Up next, it is Hyperion Copus, who obviously has yet to prove themselves. They were on a bye in a week one, but it tends to be the bottom three positions for everyone's power rankings. Billy, you did rank them the highest out of everyone at fifth, but I'm going to ask Billy the question as to why he put them in position that he did.
Talking about Hyperion,
Yes, yeah, Hyperion Copus, yeah.
man. So this team is gonna be up and down. I would think it's a big unknown, and I think right now the roster consists of two players that are currently silver one. They have and two gold threes and a gold four. One
Hmm.
of them is the player is Toddy. Toddy
Yeah, the
came
return
back
of
after
Toddy.
like yeah, he came back after like a year
Hmm.
of not playing the game, and he was known as like a very carry top laner. Like he
Hmm.
loved to play those carries, but he did have a very very bad mental, and that's what can break his gameplay is if he gets tilted off something that happens on another lane
Hmm.
or something else happens where he can't play his best because he's thinking about these kind of issues. So I'm concerned about the well-being of this team during games if something goes poorly.
Okay. Two be fair though, it has been a while. Does anyone have any insight on if Toddy is still a bit of a tilter here?
Yes, I've played that
Okay,
multiple times.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. Okay, all right. Okay, we'll go next then. Up next, it is the team formerly known as TD Aftermath, now rebranding to TD Bank with a wonderful green logo of two green teams in this division. We have TD Aftermath in third place for Rendo and Billy. Billy, you have them in fourth. Billy, kind of walk me through as to why you feel TD Aftermath is a top 3 team after going 0-2 in week 1.
Uh, I'm trying to remember who they lost to off the top of my
CBZ.
head.
Lost to
CBZ?
CBZ.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think CBZ is one of their harder matchups, especially I know
Mhm.
that this team changed up their mid lane just recently. One thing I'm kind of keeping my eye on personally is whether or not Karma Divine actually really helps his team or like
Mhm.
brings it down. Because I know his playstyle isn't the normal sort of mid lane style that we see in Gold.
Yeah.
Like he plays a lot of supportive mids more than
Mhm.
anything, and I don't know how well that fits with this team. But I know that a lot of these players are still good players, so it's kind of just more a synergy thing and whether or not their playstyles will actually start aligning as we see them farther down.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think Karma's gonna be on this team for the long term.
Oh,
Oh.
Interesting.
When he messaged me, he said that let's see. Let me give you some insider information.
Uh-oh.
He says he's returned to his BOL home temporarily.
Okay.
So basically, I think he's playing on an NSG team, probably in Victors. So
Mhm.
he's gonna be probably gone from the team after this week,
Okay.
I would assume.
We'll see how that kind of shapes out and where that kind of leaves that team. Up next, though, it is Never Forgotten Esports coming off a 0-2 in week 1. And all 3 of you have put them in 7th or 6th and 7th place. My apologies. Rindo, you have them in 6th, though. So kind of walk me through as to why you feel NFE is so low in powering.
I didn't think House Ronan was very good, and they got 2-0'd by
Okay.
him.
Fair. Okay. No, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, short and simple. All right. Fair enough. Up next, Conwood Esports Kraken, who is also on a 0-2, but this one kind of looks like we are taking into consideration how strong TD Solar is looking
Mhm.
in week 1, and we've kind of placed them in the middle of the pack. Billy, you put them in the 4th place. Kind of walk me through why you feel that they're better than the bottom 3 teams, and then how do you feel this team could kind of look to the future? Where do you think they're going to stack up?
So so for the first thing, I just want to say
Mhm.
I am on this team, so I have a little bit of more
Not here
Uh-huh.
knowledge.
though.
Yeah, not in this league.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
playing on it in a different league. But I know that this team's been together for a while, and like I know that Crow and Mikish have been really improving as players and have been showing that
Mhm.
they are good players that need to be respected. The one thing I know is they are currently going to be dealing. They have Squig, Yipsy's in Engage God. The one concern for me is topside currently. I know that personally Squig is one of those more aggressive players and will look to fight you at any chance he gets. It's whether or
Mhm.
not that gets punished or not is going to be more the deciding factor for me on whether or not this team moves up or not.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with Billy on that actually a lot because I know quite a bit about this team too. And like you've got Squig in the top lane, you've got Glada, and you've got Yipsy, who are all very aggressive players. And then you've got Crow and Mikish, and they're just kind of there to chill and vibe. We're pretty happy to be level 16 kind of players.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fair
So
enough.
this seems like the team that like do they like yeah they played for quite a while, but like can they make drafts that can mesh with each other's play styles is like my big thing for this team.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fair enough. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Noxus Power Rankings. We have one more division in gold. It is Ionia. And let's kind of talk about the standings on Ionia right now. Currently, 2 teams that have walked away with wins in this division. It is CB Rangers and Going Ghost. GSG Gamma off a bye. Literal Monkeys and Silent Assassins Esports walked away with a loss in week 1, and Slurp Squad and Shining Light Guardian have a reschedule, which I believe is slated for tomorrow. And kind of right off the bat, it looks like we definitely copied each other a little bit here. So CB Rangers, number one. That's kind of expected coming back from last season with how well they did. Bully in the number one seed. Take it away.
I mean, one second.
Mhm.
All right, so it's obvious. This team's cracked. There's I I don't think anyone would ever disagree that this team is not going to be the number one slot right now.
In the league or just this division, out of curiosity?
Pff, I think right
To
now
put you
they're
in the
number
spot.
one in the league.
Okay.
I agree.
Mhm.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. All right. We'll go next on to the next team. All right. Another team walking away with a win. It is Going Ghost 2-1, who I believe played against Literal Monkeys, who they defeated last week, sitting in second place for literally everyone here. So, Rindo, kind of tell me why you feel Going Ghost is the number 2 team in Ionia.
Going Ghost, like I think this is the same roster as like pretty close to the same roster that played in Victorious, I believe. And they look like they were starting to get their stuff together in that league. So like anytime a team likes to play with each other enough to play in two leagues and you see them like having upsides towards the end of their last split, like I'm just gonna say like, hey, I expect big things out of you in that league. Like it's honestly unfortunate they're in the same league as the best team in the league. So like
Mhm.
this team, I think this team's like a number one contender in Noxus or Demacia personally.
Okay.
So I expect this team to be the 2 seed that's scary in playoffs.
All right. Fair enough. Up next, currently, third place in the bracket, but have yet to play. It will play next week. It is GSG Gamma, and Billy has them in third. Bully has them lower than everyone else. So I guess this next question is going to be to the Bully here. You have GSG in fifth place. Tell me why.
I think it's going to be more settled on their ADC, right? So they literally just lost their
Hmm.
ADC a few days ago because of unfortunate circumstances where they got permabanned. So they were not able to play, and now they have to find a replacement. Where an ADC with that needs to build synergy with like a support, build synergy with the team, and the team needs to like this ADC. It causes so many problems, and I don't know if they're gonna get that synergy built for weeks on end. So I'm gonna put them
Hmm.
around that area. If they had that solid five, I would say maybe fourth. Um,
Okay.
but right now, there's the very big question mark in my eyes.
Yeah, we'll see what they're able to do. Up next, Literal Monkeys, who did lose to Going Ghost in week 1, currently sitting 1-2 with their game score. And Rindo has them in third. Bully has them in third. Billy, you have them in fourth. We're going to let Rindo walk us through this one as to why you feel Literal Monkeys is a top 3 team in Ionia.
Um, I, they just look good to me. I mean, little Packapal always gets these guys good coaches. He gets them together and makes sure they're doing their scrims. I mean, this team is forgive me if I'm wrong, but this is like Jesus Juice and Barry Donut and those guys, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So like they played together. They've got that synergy. Yeah. Barry Donut used to be a top laner, but
dude, I
Jesus
feel like
Juice really
Baradoni used to play
controls some
Evergirl.
map good. Yeah. Barry Donut's
That's
just
true.
fun. I don't fill player. I don't know. So
Mhm.
and by fill player, like that's the biggest problem on this roster too. In my opinion, yeah, they play together and they do well, but Barry Donut's like, yeah, he does real good on some of the champions he does real well on. But then he's like, he just randomly like throws something out in the wind. And he's like, this sounds like fun this game.
I
So
think
if
they
he can
get bored of
control himself, he
champions
gets
they play.
better. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So
It's if this team like stuck to like a solid 8 champions, it's like a solid 8 champions, then I feel like this would be a big threat because they
Okay.
will know a lot more about their team or their
Hmm.
champions. But right now they just have so many champions that they play like all right instead of having the solid stack of champions where they're just like, all right, if we ban these champions, they still have this champion up,
Hmm.
and they're still really goddamn good at it.
Yeah. Okay.
So But right now it's like, all right, we ban their best champion. They're just gonna pick another champion that they're sometimes good, like all right at. Sometimes they're mediocre, or sometimes they just pick it because it sounds fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, fair enough. Up next, it is Silent Assassins Esports coming in at 0-2 in week one. Billy, you have them in fifth place above Slurp Squad and Shining Light Guardians. So kind of walk me through why you've put them where you've put them.
Simply put, they went up against Rangers, and I was not impressed with their showing, whether
Okay.
it be draft wise or like just play wise.
Okay.
It didn't look like they really had the most synergistic comp, and the only reason they aren't lower is because we have the pending reschedule for Shining Light and Slurp Squad. So
Yeah. Okay. So that kind of opens up the question that I'm going to give to all three of you here. All of you have Shining Light and Slurp Squad in sixth and seventh. So the question is, do you actually feel that this is where the teams are going to kind of end up? Or is it a situation in which we don't really know enough about these two teams? So this is where they currently are because of that reschedule.
That's mine for Shining Light, and for Slurp Squad is if you want to start like your team looking like a meme, like, and you're gonna be a meme until you start kicking people around. So
I think I put them down there because I think that's pretty much. I think Slurp Squad is going to end up above Shining Light,
Okay.
but I think these both teams are going to be around maybe on the playoff cutoff, but I don't think they're going to make playoffs.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
am I am the opposite. I think Shining Light's actually going to be a little bit higher than Slurp Squad come end of season. I think
You think?
Shining Light has the potential to maybe fight for a playoff spot, but
Okay.
even that kind of just depends on the consistency of the other teams that we have ranked higher right now.
Okay, fair enough. And for your cutoff, would you say like Literal Monkeys is like your cutoff for playoffs, or do you think someone else could kind of take that position away from them?
Right now, Litmon holds it for me.
Okay.
The thing is that I've seen this Litmon team. They've been playing in my division in Aegis, and
Hmm.
they were not the most consistent team there.
Okay. So I guess we'll see which one we get in week two. But that's going to do it for Gold Power Rankings. It's now time to take a look at Platinum Power Rankings. And the first division we're going to talk about, it is Freljord. So Titan Gaming Atlas, Elementals Maelstrom, and New World Esports Nebula walking away with wins in week one. Literal Monkeys have yet to play. Team Ambition Tropics, Team Ambition Wildside, and Mysticats all dropped their week one game. And across the board, it looks like we have the exact same top teams. So, Rindo, Elementals Maelstrom, why are they your number?
oh, this team just looks really good. I think this is I think this team's really good in any division. I watched their game and they played really well also.
Okay.
So they just look like a team to beat. Like I'm making my team scrim twice before I play this team to make sure we're ready for them. So,
Okay.
Wait a
Fair
minute, you
enough.
don't play them though until playoffs.
but yeah, I'm just saying if I'm coming up and playing these guys, like I want my team focused playing against these guys. So
Okay, so you heard it here first. Rindo's team will scrim at least twice before playoffs. All right, good to know. up,
if we make it that
up,
far, so.
yeah, we'll see. Up next, it is Titan Gaming Atlas, who is off a 2-0 week, but apparently all three of you kind of felt that it was up against a weaker team. So Billy specifically
Billy, you did
slotted
me.
TA Wildside
Yeah,
over. So was it was that like a mix up, or do you feel that they just had like a really bad week and they are a better team?
I honestly kind of forgot that Titan won that game. I
Oh, good.
screwed up I screwed up
Oh,
the
good.
sighting there.
But was it a bad enough series that you kind of decided that even though the Titan went 2-0, that they are in your fifth place position in your rankings?
I don't think Titans the I'm not totally sold on Titan yet.
Okay.
I know that they've been going through a lot of roster changes personally, and I know that TA Wildside was not having the the most consistent rosters leading up
Hmm.
to week one either. I believe they had like Silver sub in last minute, and I believe there's still going to be more potential changes happening. So I kind of view it as a team that that had a more stable roster and ended up winning
Okay.
this past week.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Up next, it is New World Esports Nebula, coming off a win in week 1. All of you have put them in second place, but we're going to specifically ask Bully his thoughts on why they are so.
I mean, I was looking at this team. This team actually played yesterday, I believe. Um, I honestly thought it was going to be a good game, and it was. TA Tropics,
Mm-hmm.
solid player or solid team, and a New World Esports Nebula. This Nebula team, I think, is a much better iteration than the other Nebula team, unfortunately. But they have really, really solid players on their team, including like Nuffy's Goaty.
Mm-hmm.
It this is a team built to win right now, and I would be shocked if they miss playoffs. The only reason they're behind Maelstrom right now is because they
Mm-hmm.
haven't played each other yet. That is going to be the real tell of who's going to be the better team. Maelstrom has, a very solid team, as Rindo said before. They have a solid coach, uh, but these top 3 teams are going to be deadly in playoffs.
Okay. Fair enough. Up next, we're going to talk about Literal Monkeys and then Team Ambition Tropics. So Literal Monkeys have yet to play, and Rendos put them in the middle of the pack. Bullies put them in 6th, but Billy, you've put them in dead last. Kind of walk me through why.
It's more so this is a roster full of players that haven't really proven themselves in plat yet.
Okay.
So I wanted to see what they end up doing. Like the only one that I think I've seen truly play in plat just yet, I believe, is Paka.
Mm-hmm.
Boba's been around for a while, and I know he's a really good support. But we have Rocker, aka LeBron Basketball, who's finally making the jump up to plat. Chinese
Mm-hmm.
Spy, who's always been one of the better mid laners in gold, making the jump up as well. It's whether or not they translate their success in gold up into plat, is what determines if
Mm-hmm.
they move up for me.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Up next, it is Team Ambition Tropics, who said lose game 1, but it looks like all 3 of you kind of across the board agree that even though they did lose to New World Esports Nebula, they had a really good showing in their best of 3. So Rindo, kind of walk me through why you feel that TA Tropics is above the other 4 in the league.
I don't remember this roster completely off the top of my head, but they had a couple P1 players. I mean, I think
This is Paneer's roster.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was going to speak up. Yeah, I mean, one of their lower ranked players is Paneer. I think he's P3 right now, and he's such a good player to like. You don't have to put resources into Paneer. He can sit back and vibe on Jinx, he can play other styles too. And like, he's not dead weight. He's a very good player, even though I hear some people kind of harp on him. And I think this team can go pretty far. Honestly, like I'd be really surprised if they lost to any of these bottom 4 teams. So.
All right, fair enough. And the team that did lose the Titan Gaming Atlas in week 1, Team Ambition Wildside, 0-2 in the bottom 3 for all 3 of you. Bully, you've ranked them in dead last, though, so walk me through that.
This team did not have a good showing. I think I honestly thought when I was looking at the rosters, like, you know what? They finally added Solbert as their starting ADC, and they might actually be able to do something. But it is proven to be that this team is not fully ready to play in like a full plat league. I know Corito is a really solid mid laner. Drakus, we've seen him gold multiple times, doing very well. It's kind of like what Billy said about Literal Monkeys, is
Mm-hmm.
where they're not proven themselves yet. And right
Okay.
now, they just got absolutely exposed in their week 1 game.
Okay, fair enough. And another team that kind of had a heartbreaking week 1, missed the Cats. They came so close to forcing that game 3, but unfortunately, they did lose their series. The Elementals Maelstrom, who looked phenomenal in week 1. And we have Mr. Cats kind of all over the place. Billy has them in the middle of the pack. Bully, you have them in 5th. But Rindo, you have them at dead last. Tell me why.
I thought they looked really weak last week. Like, yeah, maybe it's just the fact that I'm a little judgmental that they met Maelstrom first week, which is unfortunate for them. But Maelstrom exposed these guys like really hard, in my opinion. So maybe they're gonna prove to me that they're better than Litmon and Titan and Wildside.
Mhm.
But at this second, it's just not the impression I got.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, we've talked about Freljord. It's time to talk about Shurima now. And let's take a look at the standings for that division. Another 2-0 or 0-2 division, it looks like, for Shurima, with Crustacean Nation, New Release Sports Titan, and Absolute Esports walking away with the wins. CB Sunder yet to pick up a win, but they haven't lost, so they got the bye in week 1. And then Sensei Squad, Revolution, Ice Age, GE Emerald 0-2 in week 1 here. And it looks like we see it's a little bit different this time in the power rankings, with 2 of you picking Crustacean Nation as the number 1 seed. So Billy, kind of tell me why you feel that they are not.
For me personally, I thought the performance we saw from Crustacean Nation kind of just showed a lot more. Uh, I didn't I probably didn't give Absolute as much credit as I should have due to their opponent this first week. I think they played Rev Ice Age, who I have somewhat like pretty far down there. Yeah, and I didn't give them as much credit as I probably should have, but I still think the Absolute showed weaknesses against
Okay.
Revolution Ice Age, and uh, Crustacean Nation did not show as many weaknesses. Ammo.
Okay. Yep. Fair enough. All right. Up next, this is going to be a controversial one. A team coming off a 2-0. I believe they played against the Emerald. Second or tie for first place right now, but no one has ranked them above 4th place. Rendo, you ranked them in 6th. Then you ranked GE Emerald in 7th. So we're going to take 2 teams here. Tell me why you feel a 2-0 team is worthy of being in 6th, and then what makes you feel GE Emerald is the worst team in this division.
I was like kind of surprised when I was watching standings and the games I watched of this division, to be honest. So absolute, I expected them to smash Revolution, and so if I would have ranked these guys at the beginning of the season before the first week, I would have had New World at 5th, and I just think they don't prove anything by beating GE. So absolutely, and they just kind of fell down because I thought Revolution really surprised me this week. So that's really was all it was for me. So
Yep, fair enough. We're going to talk about Absolute now, the final 2-0 team that we've yet to talk about. Rendo has them in 1st. Billy has them in 2nd. Bully, you have them in 3rd. So kind of tell me why you feel that Absolute is in 3rd. And then I guess you're going to take 2 teams here. Tell me why you feel CB Sunder is 2nd in this division.
Is it even Sunder? Is that how you say
Sunder,
it?
but
Sunder, you know what?
you can
I'm
call them
trying
Weebs. I don't care.
so
CB
hard.
Weaves?
Tell
Well,
me why CB Weaves 2nd, and then why Absolute's.
dude, CB Weaves has like Shifty, Fonzo, some random top laner. Dude, they're a pretty good they're a pretty good team. I think right now, as it stands, I like the CB roster more than the Absolute roster. Yes, I've heard stuff about the Absolute roster that they're really good, so they can shock us all. But we, as it stands, I cannot put them over CB right now.
Okay. Fair enough. And then what makes you put Absolute Esports in the number 1 spot here, Rendo?
I mean, I wanted to be really fair about my rankings because I play in this specific division. So I put Absolute in 1st because I'm like pretty sure they won Unified, which is not an easy league to win. And like these guys like smashed their way through Victorious. Like which was a D4, D3 exception league. So like that just speaks to me like, hey, we know how to win. We're at this huge rank deficit, but we still know how to win. So I can't take anything away from these guys till anyone takes something from them. So
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. How are you feeling about the Weebs in this division, by the way?
I
You feel
mean,
confident?
when I watched the draw show, I wasn't like there was like pros and cons to where we landed, in my opinions. I do think we have the heaviest topside division. I think us, Crustacean Nation, and Absolute are very, very good teams. Crustaceans, they're 8-1 in APL, which is in a weak league right now, and Absolute's already made their names.
Mhm.
So I think it's just a really top heavy division with Sensei kind of like saying, "Hey, we're dangerous." Is my opinion on this league. So
All right. So you unfortunately set yourself up for this next question. You specifically mentioned that there were positives and negatives in this division, right? who are the positives that you're looking forward to playing?
I mean, I'm looking for me, like nothing wrong these other like the 3 teams I have towards the bottom, but I think like this is awesome to kind of land in because I think Crustacean Nation's really good, Absolute's really good, and Sensei's got like a lot of strong suits. So I think like some of these other teams might have hit like a little weaker of a division. So all season long, our team's going to be playing against some of the top teams, figuring out our like flaws and what we need to work on and scrim to scrim.
Okay.
And that's why I like being there. The downside is like one bad week means you're like really far
Yeah.
down in the seedings for playoffs.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. All right. Up next, let's talk about the Sunset Squad, who are 0-2. I believe they lost to Station Nation, who everyone has pretty much their number 1 seed. So, Billy, kind of walk me through. You put them in 5th place. Your thoughts here on this team?
Wait, did I have him 5th place? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I don't recognize a lot of these names off the top of my head, and that was kind of the reason why I didn't have them the highest. I know New World has several names I recognize, like Boogie's on there, Trigger, Protomorph. They're all they've all seen success, and for me, I was kind of just left wondering how Sensei Squad will stack up.
Hmm.
So I kind of just put them in that middle ground with like just they're a little bit below Titan, but not by much.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And then let's talk about Revolution Ice Age, who lost last week to Absolute Esports 0-2. They are in 5th and 6th place for all 3 of you. Bully, you have them specifically in 5th, though. Kind of tell me why you feel that they are this seed and potentially going to circle this.
I actually thought they had a pretty good showing against Absolute. I thought they're gonna get smashed, and they didn't. They had a pretty solid showing. They did well in a couple of games. And I'm pretty sure that they would beat Genie Emerald and Sensei Squad. So that's why I put them at 6th or at 5th.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. GE Emerald, though, 0-2. I believe they lost to New World Esports Titan in week 1. Billy, you have them in dead last. Tell me.
So I know that this team they didn't have so their starting mid laner got denied when they applied to the league, and for me, mid lane's really a key lane. Due to just how much it allows the map to open up once that's all down. And a good mid laner is hard to come by, and I am curious to see how this really stacks up with Shockwave in the mid lane now. But the rest of the roster didn't really impress me, aside from the mid laner that did end up getting
Mhm.
denied. So
Okay.
I did not think they really constituted going higher than maybe 6th, maybe 7th.
All right, fair enough. That's going to wrap it up for Shurima. We have one more team to talk about for the Platinum Division, or one more division, my apologies, for the Platinum League, and that is the Targon Division, starting off with Basement Dwellers, CB Rush, and X-Flow Blue walking away with wins in week 1. Team Edition. Rendo, you're the weeb here. Help me out. How do I say this?
Akatsuki.
Akatsuki?
Akatsuki.
Okay,
Alright.
everyone should know that one.
That's Naruto.
I-
Come on, man.
Nope.
That's barely.
You're telling me
weeb,
you
man.
haven't even watched Pokemon or something.
I watched the original Pokemon movie where like Ash Ketchum gets just absolutely mauled by all the sparrows in that field. And I'm pretty sure at one point in time I played a fighting game on like PlayStation 2 where you could play as like Goku and other people. And that's about as much as I've ever into it. So
You know what the best anime in the world is?
what?
It's Cory in the House.
Oh my
Corey in the
God.
house.
I thought
All
you were
right.
gonna say SpongeBob, to be fair. So
Okay.
TA Akatsuki, right?
Akatsuki. I got you.
Akatsuki.
All right. TA Akatsuki. Iceborne
Akatsuki.
Chaos. Okay, TA Weebs have yet to play Iceborne Chaos, Stun Gaming Invictus, and Hypnotic, all walking away without wins in game 1, including myself, apparently. I'm struggling out here. All right, but so let's kind of get into it. Basement Dwellers 2-0. I believe they played Hypnotic, but they're placed pretty low down. So I guess this kind of raises two questions here. Rindo, you put them in 5th place, and then you put Hypnotic in 6th place. So you're going to talk about these two teams. And I feel like this has kind of been a consistent thing you've done in your power rankings. So do you feel that Basement Dwellers did not have a good showing against Hypnotic? And then you kind of overall feel Hypnotic does not stack up well in this league? Or is there something else going on?
Basement Dwellers beat Hypnotic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I maybe I misunderstood the question. Sorry.
Oh,
But
yeah,
so
yeah.
like I have Basement Dwellers over Hypnotic because obviously one. I was always going to have them back to back in my rankings. I've scrimmed and I've played with against some of these Basement Dweller players before, and they look fine. They're like this. They're the first round exit kind of playoff team. It's kind of what I expect from them, to be honest.
Mhm.
I watched this. I watched this game. Like each game, 0 minutes to whenever it was done. I think both teams have some really good players, but I it really confused me watching these two teams because they'd be making a play towards Great Jace, and then the bot lane of Hypnotic would start fighting for just
Mhm.
some random reason. They'd like, I know my jungler's ganking top, but let's fight bot anyways. And it just
Mhm.
looked unorganized. I would have had them higher. I probably would have had like Hypnotic 4th at
Mhm.
start, but that game just didn't impress me.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. All right. So up next, CB Rush 1021 though on the series score, taking on Iceborne Chaos. And everyone has CB Rush at the number 1 spot. But Bully, you also put Iceborne Chaos at number 2. So is this Iceborne Chaos kind of making a statement in week 1, with how strong CB Rush has consistently been throughout the previous seasons of BUL? Do you think Iceborne Chaos is a real contender here, or do you think CB Rush maybe just didn't have the best of games in week?
I think Iceborne Chaos is actually a pretty solid contender. It's so a big thing in this one is I think this also matches with kind of the other division where it's top three looks far apart from the others. The exception in this one is I think Basement Dwellers is pretty solid as well. It's more
Mhm.
balanced, and I think the Iceborne Chaos is actually the second best team. They just had to go against the best team in week one.
Fair. Do you see any other teams that could potentially challenge CB Rush outside of Iceborne Chaos?
I think Xlo can. I
Okay.
think Xlo can. Basement Dwellers might be able to take a game, maybe two. You never know.
Mhm.
But it's hard for me to see like Hypnotic or Stun Gaming to
Okay.
do this. So, but Akatsuki we haven't seen yet, so that's just
Mhm.
hard to tell.
Got it. Okay, so the next team that we're going to talk about it is Explo Blue, who I believe plays Basement Dwellers next week, so that should be a really good game. They did take on Hypnotic. So Billy, you kind of have them in 3rd. Tell me why.
For
Oh wait, no,
Basement
sorry.
Dwellers?
Explo Blue. Yeah, I meant 5th. Sorry. Yeah,
O-
Explo Blue. I mean.
Okay, Exflow Blue, I need to see more from. I personally don't think that the team they played this past week was the best roster, and I know that there's several like question marks in this division, and I don't know how much beating Stunned Gaming really races them up in my power rankings when the top side of this division
Mhm.
is kind of really uh I feel like this is a somewhat stacked division as well, at least for the
Mhm.
top two, top three.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
I
do
mean,
have they do have a pretty solid team though. Just look at
I
their roster. Their roster is probably P3 average. Actually P2 average most likely. It's more of people that we've seen before. We've seen like New IG and Wanted. It's Homie. In this case,
Mhm.
he's not playing on Hypnotic. He's playing for a different team. But Opie's
Mhm.
kill switch is someone I know about, and I know he was a very feast or famine type player.
Mhm.
And then just three other players that was a team before they picked up Homie and Opie's kill switch. So they haven't built that synergy yet. They played 1 week. They played a couple weeks together. So Billy's pretty much correct where we need to see more from them. But I do think that their roster right now is pretty well built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I've got kind of the opposite opinion on these guys and the fact that like uh I guess these guys might not know OP kill switch as well as I do, but that guy is kind of like I think the early game's a little weak on this team, but OP kill switch is kind of the guy like, yo guys just don't fall below 3k gold in like the first 20 minutes, and he'll carry the game every
Yeah,
game.
yeah, he
Like,
plays with type of junglers that just like one shots people.
yeah, the guy's insane. So that's my opinion. Like, he's definitely like, there's so many teams in this division that have got like that player to look out for, and OP Kill Switch is that player on that team, in my opinion.
Yeah, this division is that. When I look at this division, it looks probably the hardest division.
Okay, fair enough. Up next, it is Team Ambition Aksuki. I
Oh
believe
my
I
god!
did I actually mess it up again?
That was
Yes,
horrible.
Yeah.
Just call
Oh,
Where
me,
do you
man.
have? Where do you get the S at the very beginning of the name?
I don't.
There is
All
no
right, the
S
TI
in the first
Weebs
like
from the
first 4 letters.
Naruto
God
show
damn it.
I'm in pain.
have yet to play this season. Next week they do play CB Rush. Thank you. Shout out to CB for having a simple non-weeb name. I appreciate that org. But yeah, so they've yet to play. And looking at the power rankings, it's a little all over the place. Renda, you have them in last. Bully has them in fifth. Billy, you have them in second. So I guess we're gonna ask Billy, and then we're gonna ask Rindo why are we pretty much on polar opposites considering this team. So Billy, kind of take it away to start with, and then Rindo, feel free to tell him when he's wrong.
You're
For
wrong,
me,
Billy.
yeah, I mean, I'm probably wrong, but
I'm
personally,
kidding.
just looking at this roster on paper, I really like a lot of the names. I feel like a lot of them have been players that I personally have seen do well. Like Egg, while he's awful right now, was an amazing jungler when I played against him in Risen. Snow Life has always been one of the best players in his role, whether it be support or mid when I've seen him. So I personally feel like like the name value is what gives me the excitement that I have to put them in second.
Mm-hmm.
But I can totally see why others may not be as excited as I am.
Dude.
Which
I
would be
I
Rindo.
think, yeah, I mean, so I'm just gonna give a quick opinion on this whole division. This division is like the type of division that I can see almost any team beating any team. I think it is the most balanced division there is. I don't know much about Stunned IG. Sorry if I get their name wrong off the top of my head, but outside of that, like, and that's why they exactly fell in fourth. But this was the hardest division to rank, honestly. I honestly, it was like, hey, Rush is really balanced team. Oh, Xflow Blue had OP Kill Switch, Dunna on Iceborne,
You really
and
love OP Kill Switch. Holy shit.
that guy's really good from what I've watched him. But I've never played on a team with him. He might not even know who I am. I don't know. But I've always thought he was a really good player. From every time I've seen him on stream, I'm like, that guy's good. I'd play with that guy.
All right.
So yeah, it's just hard. TA's just been falling apart in APL, and that's why they got dropped to the bottom for me.
Probably because there's been too much time watching anime and not enough time playing League of Legends. Up next, it is Stun Gaming Invictus, who are 1-2. They lost to Xflow Blue, who everyone kind of has towards the top, except Billy, who's a hater apparently. But Rindo, you kind of have SG in the middle. So why is Invictus so high for you compared to everyone else?
Division's close in my opinion. Haven't seen them play. Their roster just looks decent to me, so it's just like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know where to put them, so here's fourth. Here's fourth or last for me because they're not above Rush. So
That's okay, fair. Up next, it is Hypnotic, who tragically did lose 0-2 last week to the Basement Dwellers. And it looks like everyone kind of has them in 6th and 7th. Unfortunately, Billy, you have them dead last, so this is kind of where you get to talk about why you rated them so low.
I'm pretty sure this roster's all over the place right now.
Okay.
I do think that they have some immense potential. Like they have King Yeetloaf, they have Great
yeah,
Jace, Seven Double. Like their roster looks like it should be good. Great Jace is still kind of washed. I think he took like last year off and he's basically building back his skills. But I don't think this team should be bad. But it does come with a factor of this team can be on a roller coaster. They could be good one week, terrible the next week, and it's just like it's too topsy turvy to think that they're going to go deep in the playoffs until they show that they could be consistent.
All right, fair enough. We've talked about all three divisions for the Platinum League. It's time to talk about Diamond. The last two divisions we had to discuss, starting with Bilgewater. Taking a look at the standings, Team Ambition Blue, Riddle My Blossoms, and Shadow Z all walking away with wins 2-0 in week one. Contingent Esports Blue yet to play. And then we have Never Forgotten Esports, Glacial Mafia, and Glue Eater, who walk away 0-2 in week one. Starting off with the team that has been placed two times in the number one spot, it is Team Ambition Blue. Billy, why are you so highly ranked in your bracket?
So I know the Team Ambition teams are always solid. The one thing that kind of gave them the edge for me personally over Shadows is I feel like a lot of Shadows falls on like two players overall, if I remember off the top of my head. I believe Goat BM's like like one of the insane players on that roster, and I feel like TA Blue is just more overall balanced compared to the likes of a Shadow roster.
Okay. Rindo, you have Shadow Z in the number one spot. Why?
I think what Billy said was actually really fair, but Shadow Z, I don't think has been playing together for very long, and they played real well last week. They look like they had really good synergy when I watched their games. 'Cause I was just curious about them, knew a couple players on the team, so I just watched it, and I was really impressed with them, to be honest. That's what it was.
Okay. Fair enough. And everyone has agreed that Riddle My Blossoms is the number three seed right now. They took down Glacial Mafia in week one. They will play Never Forgotten Esports in week two. So, Bully, tell me why you kind of put Riddle My Blossoms in the third seed here.
So, I didn't think when this team was first coming together, I didn't think they're going to do well, but it's actually coming together quite well. And I think that is actually on the back of Ellipsy. I think that's how you say it.
Don't
Where
ask me how to say it. I'll mess it up.
um
A weed
but
name.
like it's actually looks like a pretty solid roster. There's a couple players that might be look out of place, but they do have the ability to hold their own in lane, and this roster might is acts like they are more of a look for opportunities instead of look for aggressive plays. And that's what
Mhm,
I kind of enjoy watching. It's like basically they force the enemy team to make a mistake and they could capitalize on it. So I'm gonna
mhm.
think that I've only seen like a game of theirs or like just seen what they have the ability to do.
Okay.
But if I could see more than that, that's where they're gonna be placed. But this could be more of a skill gap eventually later on because like Glue Eaters, I think is a solid team. It's just
Mhm.
week one it didn't play well. First game was terrible. Second game they actually had a chance to win. They just couldn't get to
Okay.
victory.
All right, let's talk about the team currently that has yet to play, Contingent Esports Blue. And we've kind of put them towards fourth and fifth seed. Rendo, you put them in the fifth seed, though. Tell me why. Is it just you haven't seen anything from them yet, or are you kind of looking at their roster in weeks to come?
It was kind of I haven't seen them yet, but I thought NFE looked like a good team personally, so I just dropped them below the team that I thought got unlucky with their first week pairing.
Okay. And then,
Fantastic.
mhm.
Yep.
And then Never Forgotten Esports currently 0-2 after week one. Bully, you have them in sixth place, actually. So tell me why you decided this team out of all the other ones was so low.
It's a difficult topic, but I think there's gonna be some roster shakeups, and it's gonna be detrimental to their overall gameplay.
Okay.
Uh, they did they did look like a solid team on paper, uh, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do move up in the rankings later on. But it's just what the short term uh, issues are gonna be that could either create long term issues or there's just too many unknowns.
Okay. Fair enough. Up next, Glacial Mafia. And it looks like after the O2 week, all three of you have decided that they are the last place team within Bilgewater after losing to Riddle My Blossoms Billy, tell me what's up with that.
As much as I don't want to say it, this team's kind of just like a dumpster fire right now.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like a lot of management and the players are on the same page, and there's just too many things that are going unnoticed for this team to really be consistent. They've already used up their two, like they just
Mhm.
dropped a whole bunch of players off their roster. They just used their two changes for the week, and I feel like there's a lot more changes coming. Where this is a team that's hard to really put anywhere below, like anywhere above last at this time.
Okay. And Rindo, Bully put Glue Eaters in the middle of the pack. You have them towards the bottom. Kind of tell me why you feel Bully could be wrong here. Then we'll let Bully give a chance to rebuttal.
This is the stream game, right? It was TA
Yeah.
Blue versus Glue Eaters, right? Yeah. The thing that I didn't like about them was like I do think Blue's a really good team, but game two it was a really close game. But I just thought they had some really clear ways to win the game. I kind of thought they outdrafted the other team, and they found to me it was like finding a way to lose the game when they should have been the team in the driver's seat in that draft, in my opinion.
Okay. Fair enough. Bully, would you like to reply?
Yeah, I mean that game was 100% back and forth. Game one was a shit show. It was a one-sided affair. Game two, I thought the stream series was gonna 100% go to game three, but Gluters found a way to lose. But that did come to a point where it's like they did play well against who most of us think is a top two team, and just it's just week one. Eventually, I think they're gonna be able to prove themselves and be one of these playoffs teams. They have the talent to do it. They just need to refine their own gameplay and their shot calling in game.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the Bilgewater division of the Diamond League. It's time to take a look at our final division, which is Shadow Isles of the Diamond League. And taking a look at the standings, Hypnotic, CB Eminem, and AoE Zeal walked away with wins in week one. Shining Light Protectors, Decimate Legacy, Dragons of the West, unfortunately did not pick one up. And Oasis Esports Rose has yet to play. Right off the bat, though, CP Eminem in the number one spot for Billy and Bully. Billy, tell me why.
Wait, was this me? Sorry.
Yes, it's you,
Yes,
Billy.
yes.
Okay, sorry. CB, like the CB roster honestly just looks really stacked for this league. We see a lot of names we recognize. Like Riddy is a really good player. Kenikaze is their cap perception and is really good. I feel like this roster just has the highest upside, while there's still questions regarding the other rosters surrounding them. So that's kind of why I just put them in first.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Bully, you put Hypnotic in the number two spot. Kind of tell me why you put them there.
Honestly, so the funny thing is, like before the season started, it was kind of a. I was wondering how this roster was going to look because they're waiting for a player to hit 200 games. They're waiting. They're seeing like there's players coming in and out of the roster. Um, but they had a really good showing in week one, and I'm convinced that the new support that was supposed to be, I think, just supposed to be a fill, is going to be a long-term support for them. They're really solid, and hopefully they don't release that player, aka BKIP. Um, I put them there just because they have overall a solid roster, a winning mental, and I think just overall experience that the team has in competitive fives is going to go a long ways in this league.
Well, fair enough. And Rindo, you've put AoE Zeal as the number one team, where Bully's put them in third and Billy's put them in fourth. So kind of walk me through why you have ranked AoE Zeal so much higher than everyone else.
I thought this was really hard. Honestly, didn't want to put CB as one because they're CB. I'll be honest. But AoE Zeal like looked good. They played Shining Light week one, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that team looked decent too. It was a 2-1. Like I think these two teams just as the season goes through, they're gonna both show their top four. And AoE Zeal just was the better team that week. So I just feel like they have less to prove right now.
Okay. Fair enough. Up next, it is the team that has yet to play, Oasis Esports Rose. Rindo, you ranked them last, but Billy, you ranked them third. So kind of tell me why you put Oasis Esports Rose so high here.
Realistically, there's less to go off of from Oasis Esports Rose since they haven't really played. I know a lot of the names there are good players, and I'm personally worried about a little bit of AoE's Zeal ceiling. I just have not seen any of these players really before. I don't really know much about them, and I feel like the I feel like there's a higher ceiling on Oasis Esports Rose than the teams below them right now.
Okay, fair enough. Up next, Shining Light Protectors, who did lose in week 1 to AoE Zeal, ranked in 5th and 6th. But Rindo has ranked them 3rd, so we're coming back to you, Rindo, for your explanation as to why Shining Light Protectors is 3rd in Shadow Isles.
Well, so AoE Zeal in 2-1 to SL, and I think AoE Zeal and CB are the top 2 teams, and there's kind of like the question of who's like 1 through 5 a lot for me. So I was just like, well, they gave who I'm putting the number 1 team a good run, and the games weren't just utter stomps, so that's why they ended up there for me.
All right, yeah, fair enough. Good explanation. Up next, Decimate Legacy, coming off of a loss 1-2 against CB M&M in week 1. And Bully, you've put them in 4th place. Kind of tell me why you put them in the middle of the pack, and do you see potential in which Decimate Legacy makes a play up front here?
Yeah, remember Acclivity Esports?
Hmm?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this like was built off of it.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
it looks like a very solid roster. Um, right now it looks like the top laner, Lil Fizzy, is their cap exception, but
Hmm.
mid lane, D2 Slayer versions, like Chronos, Jojo Mojo, Inti they're all looking like solid players. They did lose week 1, but I don't think that they are going to be a bottom 3 team in this division. I think
Okay,
they're going to make playoffs. I don't think they're going to be a top 2 team, but I think they're going to be like a 3-4.
okay, enough. And last, but certainly not least, Dragons of the West, 0-2 up against a Hypnotic that did very well in week 1. And it does look like Billy and Bully have put them in dead last. Rindo, you put them in 6th place. So kind of tell me why you put them in 6th place and what makes them better than Oasis Sports Rose in your.
So I just don't like the looks of this Oasis team roster, but I also feel like Hypnotic has stuff to prove still, and they got 2-0 by Hypnotic, so they fell into the 6th slot.
That's fair.
Okay,
I
fair
would agree
enough.
with you
Yeah.
though. That Oasis Esports roster does have a lot to prove. I do think they have a. I would think that its roster is going to be competitive. It's more of I thought Stet was going to end up starting, which is unfortunate because that roster would be looking pretty solid with them starting.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Well, I believe that concludes Shadow Isles. We went over IBS, we went over Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. We're heading in a week to next week, starting Monday with the Diamond League. Thank you all for coming out. Have a wonderful evening, and we will catch you next week for Otter Talk Week 3.